Grandma's beach house. The salt air was a welcome slap after the stuffy drive. Maya wrestled her largest canvas carrier out of the hatchback, its weight a familiar comfort. This house, perched precariously close to the cliff's edge, had always been her sanctuary. Now it was her battleground. Inside, dust motes danced in the afternoon sun filtering through the panoramic windows. Grandma Elena's presence lingered in the faded floral wallpaper, the scent of lavender and sea salt, and the faint click of seashells that still adorned the windowsills. Maya smiled, a bittersweet ache in her chest. Unpacking was a focused frenzy. Tubes of cadmium yellow, cerulean blue, and alizarin crimson spilled across the spare bedroom floor, transforming it into a vibrant chaos. Brushes, palettes, and jars of linseed oil joined the colorful anarchy. Soon, easels stood sentinel, canvases leaned against the walls, and the room hummed with creative possibility. The porch beckoned. Settling onto the weathered swing, Maya propped a fresh canvas and squeezed a dollop of cobalt onto her palette. The ocean roared its approval, a constant, rhythmic pulse. She began to paint, capturing the turquoise swells, the jagged rocks, the ethereal dance of light on the water. Hours melted away, marked only by the shifting sun and the deepening hues of the sky. Later, as twilight painted the sky in shades of rose and violet, Maya carefully unwrapped the wind chimes. Made of polished abalone shells and delicate strands of copper, they were a perfect echo of the sea. Climbing onto a rickety stool, she hung them from the porch eaves, their gentle tinkling a delicate counterpoint to the crashing waves. "For you, Abuela," she whispered, a promise carried on the salty breeze. The chimes sang their approval, a shimmering tribute to her grandmother's memory and a defiant declaration of her own. Hurricane Agnes arrives. Agnes Periwinkle marched up Maya's seashell-lined walkway like a storm surge, her floral muumuu billowing in the salty breeze. The slam of her sensible orthopedic sandals on the painted planks echoed the thunder brewing offshore. Maya, perched on her porch swing painting a vibrant mural of a mermaid, sighed. She knew that clatter. Maya Rodriguez. Agnes' voice, sharp as broken glass, sliced through the rhythmic tinkling of Maya's wind chimes. Maya set down her brush, a swirl of turquoise clinging to the bristles. "Agnes, to what do I owe the pleasure?" she asked, her tone carefully neutral. Agnes planted her hands on her hips, her face a roadmap of disapproval. "Those things. They're obstructing my ocean view." She pointed a trembling finger toward the colorful array of glass and metal dangling from Maya's eaves. "From across the street, I might add. I can barely see the horizon now, just a chaotic mess of whimsy." Maya raised an eyebrow, a spark of defiance flickering in her eyes. "Obstructing?" "Agnes, they're wind chimes. And my property. And rather lovely, if I may say so myself. Besides, I was under the impression your prized petunias were the priority for your ocean viewing hours. They're a nuisance. A visual pollutant. They clash with the mandated pastel palette of this community." Agnes puffed up like a blowfish. "I expect them removed immediately." Maya stood her ground, a kaleidoscope of paint splattered across her apron. "I'm afraid I must decline, Agnes. They bring me joy, and I believe I'm entitled to a little joy on my own porch." The wind picked up and the chimes sang a louder, more insistent song. "The HOA rules. They're perfectly within the regulations," Maya said, leading Agnes into her living room. Sunlight streamed through the large windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. The gentle tinkling of wind chimes, a delicate melody, drifted in from the patio. Agnes scowled, her gaze fixed on the source of the sound. "Regulations can be interpreted." Maya sighed, retrieving a thick, navy blue binder from the bookshelf. "The HOA rulebook. Here." She opened it, flipping to the section on outdoor decorations. "Point me to the rule I'm breaking." Agnes snatched the binder, her finger jabbing at the page. "Aesthetic harmony. Property values. You think that cacophony enhances the aesthetic harmony." She spat the words out like venom. "Those things obstruct my ocean view." Maya crossed her arms, unimpressed. "They're small, Agnes. And they're beautiful. They don't violate any rules. See?" Maya pointed to the very specific line that stated wind chimes of reasonable size that produced gentle sounds were permitted. Agnes slammed the binder onto the coffee table, the sound sharp and abrupt. "It's the spirit of the rules, Maya. The spirit. You're deliberately lowering my property value." Her face was flushed, her voice rising. Maya met her gaze, unflinching. "I'm enjoying my wind chimes, Agnes. They're staying." The tinkling continued, a subtle defiance in the air, threats and fines. Agnes's face was a roadmap of fury, each wrinkle a testament to her mounting rage. Those monstrosities have to come down, Maya. Now." Her voice, already sharp, gained an edge that could cut glass. The bylaws are very clear about obstructions. And those wind chimes are obstructing my view. My view, Agnes? Maya corrected, her voice level despite the tremor in her hands. The chimes tinkled softly, a delicate counterpoint to the brewing storm. I own this property, and the chimes are not obstructing anything. Agnes huffed, pulling a dog-eared booklet from her oversized handbag. Page 27, Section 4, Paragraph B. No resident shall erect or maintain any structure, decoration, or object that unreasonably obstructs the view of another resident. She stabbed a finger at the text. Those chimes are an obstruction. I've already spoken to the HOA. They're prepared to issue fines, escalating daily until they're removed. And if that doesn't work, she leaned in, her breath stale with peppermint, we'll pursue legal action. Maya felt a cold knot tighten in her stomach. Legal action? Over wind chimes? You're threatening me? I'm informing you of your obligations. Agnes's eyes narrowed. Remove them, Maya, and we can all avoid a very unpleasant and expensive situation. She turned on her heel, the booklet snapping shut like a judge's gavel. The chimes sang on, but to Maya they sounded like a mocking chorus. She sank into her porch swing, the rhythmic creak doing little to soothe the sudden anxiety throbbing in her temples. Fines. Legal action. Over wind chimes. The ocean breeze, usually a comfort, now felt like a cold, unwelcome presence. Calling 911. Agnes' face had gone from red to a mottled purple. Do you have any idea what these trinkets are doing to my property value? I can barely see the ocean anymore. It's like living in a damn wind tunnel, listening to that infernal clanging all day. Take them down, Maya. Now. Maya remained on her porch, a gentle breeze playing with the copper tubes of the wind chimes. Their soft melody seemed to mock Agnes' escalating fury. Agnes, I've told you they're staying. They bring me joy. Joy? Joy? This isn't about joy, it's about obstructing my view and disturbing the peace. Agnes shrieked, her voice cracking. She fumbled in her purse, retrieving her cell phone with trembling hands. Fine. If you refuse to be reasonable, I'll just have to report you. Maya sighed, the sound barely audible over Agnes' heavy breathing. Report me for what, exactly? Agnes jabbed at the screen of her phone. Disturbing the peace? Obstructing justice. Harassing your neighbors with sonic terrorism. She held the phone to her ear, her eyes blazing. 911, what is your emergency? She barked into the receiver. I need to report a neighbor. Yes, Rodriguez, she's causing a nuisance. Wind chimes. They're obstructing my view of the ocean. Maya stared at Agnes, a mixture of disbelief and amusement on her face. She couldn't believe Agnes was actually calling 911 over wind chimes. The absurdity of the situation was almost comical if it wasn't so sad. Officer Riley arrives. The patrol car crunched to a halt on the gravel driveway, dust swirling around its tires. Officer Riley stepped out, adjusting his belt. The scene was interesting. A woman, face red enough to rival a lobster, was waving her arms wildly at another woman sitting calmly on the porch, sketching in a large pad. Wind chimes, dozens of them it seemed, tinkled merrily in the ocean breeze, creating a surprisingly peaceful soundtrack to the apparent chaos. Finally, the red-faced woman shrieked as he approached. Officer, I'm Agnes Periwinkle, and this menace has completely ruined my ocean view. She put up these noise machines just to spite me. Riley held up a hand, a gesture honed by years of mediating neighborhood disputes. Ma'am, please. Let's all take a breath. I understand you're upset. Why don't you tell me what happened? Agnes launched into a tirade about property values, obstructed vistas, and the sheer audacity of someone daring to hang wind chimes. Riley listened patiently, his gaze occasionally drifting towards the woman on the porch. She hadn't stopped sketching, though he noticed her lips twitching slightly. When Agnes finally ran out of steam, Riley turned to the porch. Ma'am? Your name? Maya Rodriguez, she said, her voice calm and steady, barely audible above the tinkling chimes. She didn't look up from her sketchpad. Mrs. Periwinkle believes my wind chimes are an eyesore and that they diminish her ocean view. I believe they're on my property and quite lovely. She flipped a page in her pad. And I have no intention of taking them down. The law and the HOA. Officer Riley sighed, the sound barely audible over Agnes Periwinkle's escalating tirade about sonic warfare and violations of tranquility. He unfolded the printed HOA regulations sheet thrust at him, the paper smelling faintly of lavender and simmering rage. Point 3. 12. Nuisance and disturbance, he read silently. activities that may unreasonably disturb or interfere with the peaceful enjoyment of other residents. Riley ran a hand over his close-cropped hair. Wind chimes. Really? Officer, Agnes huffed, her floral dress practically vibrating with indignation. Are you even listening? Those infernal clangers are ruining my life. My ocean view used to be my sanctuary. He looked up, his expression neutral. Mrs. Periwinkle, I understand your frustration. But these regulations are subjective. The key word here is unreasonably. And this is a matter for the HOA board to arbitrate, not the police. Agnes's face reddened, the color creeping up her neck. But they're ignoring me. I called them 3 times. HOA disputes are civil matters, ma'am. Not criminal. We don't enforce noise ordinances based on personal preference. He gestured to the document. Have you submitted a formal complaint in writing? Documented the times and duration of the chiming. Her mouth worked silently for a moment. Well, no. But I suggest you start there, Mrs. Periwinkle. In the meantime, perhaps try some earplugs? He offered a small, sympathetic smile. I'm afraid there's nothing more I can do. Unless those chimes start shooting bullets. He touched the brim of his hat. The ocean air, once crisp and inviting, now felt thick with Agnes's simmering humiliation. He hoped, for everyone's sake, she wouldn't call again. Agnes retreats. Agnes Periwinkle sputtered, her face a roadmap of fury. I'll see you in court. HOA will hear about this. Lawyers. Lawyers, all of you. She stabbed a finger in Maya's direction, then whirled, her floral muumuu billowing like a spinnaker in a gale. She stomped back toward her house, muttering about property values and the audacity of youth. From behind lace curtains, eyes followed her retreat. Mrs. Gable, notorious for her prize-winning petunias, subtly shook her head. Across the street, old Mr. Henderson, who hadn't left his porch in years, actually leaned forward, his hearing aid whistling faintly. A few windows offered quick, almost furtive glances of support towards Maya, who remained calmly sketching, the wind chimes tinkling a defiant melody in the sea breeze. Officer Riley sighed, the sound barely audible above the chimes' gentle song. He turned to Maya, his expression a mixture of amusement and weariness. Look, I know you're within your rights, but maybe, just maybe, consider adding a few more of those little felt pads to the chimes? Might soften the blow, so to speak. Keeps the peace, you know. He gave her a wry smile. Besides, he added, lowering his voice, I'd rather not come back here for another wind chime war. My paperwork's piling up as it is. Ocean view, sweet chimes. That's striking, Officer Riley said, nodding toward the canvas. A swirl of blues and greens battled for dominance, mirroring the turbulent ocean outside Maya's window. You captured the storm's feel, even if it's a little intense. Maya dabbed at the canvas with a crimson brush. Intense is what sells, officer. Unless you're here about the chimes again. She arched an eyebrow, a silent challenge. Riley sighed, a puff of air that rustled his neatly trimmed mustache. Mrs. Henderson called. Said they're still disturbing her inner peace. My inner peace requires a gentle breeze and tinkling sounds, Maya retorted, stepping back to survey her work. Besides, they were a gift from Mrs. Ishikawa next door when I moved in. He chuckled softly. I can hear them all the way down the street, Ms. Rodriguez. Maybe just shorten them a bit? Remove a few strands? Absolutely not, Maya said, turning back to the painting. They stay. Riley shrugged, his hands raised in mock surrender. All right. Just thought I'd ask. Beautiful view you've got here. He paused, genuinely admiring the panorama. And the painting. It really is something. With a nod, Riley turned to leave. Have a good day, Ms. Rodriguez. And try to keep the peace. Maya returned to her work, the scent of salt and paint filling the air. The chimes, undeterred by the conversation, sang their sweet, metallic song in the breeze, each note a tiny rebellion against Mrs. Henderson's tyranny. The ocean crashed against the cliffs below, a rhythmic roar that grounded her as the brush danced across the canvas.